Good morning, everyone. We are Group 4 from Tutorial 2. Today, we are going to present about Chapter 4, which is the Management Environment. My name is Kang Ning and I'm the first presenter. Now, I will discuss about the discussion questions 4.1. How much impact do managers actually have on an organization's success or failure? In answering these questions, I will talk about two perspectives, which is the omnipotent view of management and also the symbolic view of management. In omnipotent view of management, the managers are directly responsible for an organization's success or failure. It means the differences in organization performance are mainly linked to the decisions and also the actions of managers. When the companies perform well, means the profit increases, the managers often will receive praise and also rewards. However, when the performance is poor, means the profit decreases, the managers, especially the top managers, will be fired and held accountable. So this view is common in fields like college and professional sports, where the coaches are quickly be replaced if the results are not satisfactory. Under this view, the managers are viewed as powerful leaders who can anticipate changes, exploit opportunities for the company, correct the poor performance of the employees, and lead their organizations effectively. Now, let's move on to the next perspective, which is the symbolic view of management. In symbolic view of management, the abilities of the managers to affect the performance outcomes is constrained by the external factors. Much of an organization's success or failure is due to the external force outside the manager's control. So many performance results are influenced by external factors which managers only have a little control, such as economic conditions, customers, competitors' actions, and also the governmental policies. So managers don't have a significant effect on organization performance. Instead, they symbolize the control and influence by developing the plans for the company, making decisions, and engaging in other managerial activities to make sense out of random, confusing, and also an ambiguous situations. Their role involves shaping culture, interpreting external force, and helping their employees to understand complex and unpredictable situations. In this view, the manager's part in organizational success or failure is limited. In reality, managers are neither all powerful or helpless. Their decisions to influence organizational results, but external constraints and also internal organization factors also play a major role. The external constraints come from the organization's external environment, and the internal constraints come from the organization's culture. So now, let's move on to questions 4.2, which is why do managers need an understanding of what happens outside their organizations and giving examples on how changes in the external environment can affect their jobs. So, managers need to understand the external environment because it creates constraints and also challenges that directly affect how they plan, organize, lead, and control within their organizations. There are three reasons for managers to understand what happens outside their organizations. The first reason is the managers are able to respond to changes in jobs and also the employment. The external environment change the number and types of jobs available. So it influences what type of jobs of an employment needs and how many workers it should employ. So, for examples, during a global recession, millions of jobs may be eliminated and unemployment rate rose to levels not seen in many years. So, managers must balance work demands and having enough people with the right skills to do an organization works to maintain the organization performance. The second reason is the managers are able to manage the environmental uncertainty. The external environment can create uncertainty, which means a lack of predictability and the inability to forecast the future outcomes for the organizations. The environmental uncertainty exists when the managers cannot confidently predict the changes in the market, technology, regulations, or competitions. The environmental uncertainty refers to the degree of change, predictability of change, and complexity in an organization's environment. The organizations in uncertain environments will face a greater risk. So that's why understanding how unpredictable and complex the environment is can help the managers to decide how flexible and aggressive their strategies need to be. The third reason is the managers is available to build and maintain the stakeholder relationships. The managers must work with external parties, which we call stakeholders, that include customers, suppliers, and governments. These groups can either be influenced or influence the organization's actions. The stronger these stakeholder relationships are, the more influence managers have on organizational outcomes. For example, if managers build a good relationships with suppliers, they might get better prices and reliable delivery. If they communicate well with governmental agencies, they can ensure a good compliance and avoid fines. So now I will talk about the examples of how changes in the external environment can affect managers' job. Here we got four examples, and the first one is economic changes. For economic changes, the recession causes millions of jobs to be eliminated, so the managers must reorganize the workloads of employees, manage their layoff, and support the remaining employees in the company. So the next is inflation. The inflation increases the raw material cost, which increase the manufacturing cost. So the managers must renegotiate with the suppliers to change the pricing strategies. The second one is the technological changes. The automation replace the human labor with robots and online system. So the managers must redesign the jobs and retrain their employees. The Internet of Things (IoT) is also transforming business and disrupting the industries and societies around the world. So managers must upgrade the systems and train their employees on smart devices. The employees now can work from anywhere using their laptops, smartphones, and networks. So managers nowadays must manage the remote teams and maintain the communication and evaluate the performance of their employees virtually.
Thank you, Kang Ning. I'm Lim Ze Sheng. I'm going to continue the discussion with the next question, which is how has the changed economy affected what managers do? Find 2 or 3 examples in current business periodicals of activities and practice that organizations are using. Discuss them in light of the changed environment. First, we need to know what is meant by the changed economy. For example, inflation, AI and digital transformation, technological disruption, and sustainability pressure. These changes in economy have changed the roles of managers, affecting both their responsibility and required skill. This shift requires managers to expand their skill set, combining traditional leadership abilities with technical knowledge, data-driven decision-making, and adaptability to rapid changing environment. For this question, I'm going to use 2 examples, which is from Microsoft and Starbucks. First, we are going to discuss about the hybrid work in Microsoft. During and after the pandemic COVID-19, hybrid work is a very normal thing that will occur in the companies. Okay, what are the challenges that manager facing? The manager feels like they are hard to trust employees' productivity in hybrid work because the manager can't see what the employees are doing. So what manager need to do? First, they need to end the productivity paranoia. It means that manager need to focus on the result and outcomes rather than physical practice. Next, manager also need to do leading and motivating because in hybrid work, it requires manager to actively coach, provide feedbacks, and motivate employees remotely. Next challenge that manager facing is many workers feel like they need to leave the company to develop their skills. Okay, this causes the company will lose the talented employees if the manager can't do anything. So what manager need to do? First thing is the manager need to do planning and organizing. Manager plans learning programs and structured work to provide growth opportunity to the employees. And secondly, manager need to actively engage and retain talents. It means that check in on employee satisfaction, listen to aspirations, and address skill gaps. Microsoft's adoption of hybrid work illustrates how organizations are responding to the changed economy and workforce expectation. In the world of digital transformation and remote work, managers must adapt by focusing on outcomes rather than physical presence, actively collecting feedbacks, coaching employees, and supporting learning and growth. Next, we are going to discuss about employee mental health and well-being in Starbucks. What are the challenges that managers are facing? Some employees report stress from reduced hours, longer shift, and fewer staff without pay increase. To solve this kind of problem, what manager need to do? First, the manager need to do planning and organizing, which means that they need to adjust the schedule to avoid overworking employees. Next, manager also need to monitor employee stress, conduct regular check-ins and surveys to understand employees' concern, and take actionable steps to reduce stress. The Starbucks case shows how the changed economy has made employee well-being and retention a key managerial responsibility. Managers must balance workload, monitor stress, provide growth opportunity, and support wellness program, highlighting that modern managers must focus not just on task and productivity, but also on employees' development and well-being. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Syed Adam. I'll be continuing the presentation by discussing the next question, which is why is it important for managers to pay attention to demographic trends and shifts? So, why is it important for managers to pay attention to demographic trends and shifts? So, first of all, it's because workforce demographics influence organizational practices. Our workforce today consists of people from all backgrounds and age groups. Understanding each generation's needs is critical as they differ in attitudes and expectations. For example, baby boomers place a high regard on job security and loyalty. Meanwhile, Gen Z expects a deep emotional connection towards their work, and they also expect things such as work flexibility. By understanding the distinct needs of each generation, managers can tailor their leadership and communication styles towards their subordinates, ensuring a conductive work environment for everyone, as ignoring these differences could lead to miscommunication and decreased productivity. Next, demographic shifts also will impact the labor supply. Changes in demographic trends such as aging populations and declining birth rates will impact the labor available. For instance, older generations retiring can lead to a labor shortage, which is then compounded with a youth demographic which lacks the necessary skill set to take over. By analyzing these demographic trends, managers can come up with crucial changes and preemptive actions such as in further investing in employee training and setting up an internal leadership pipeline to cultivate a new batch of managers. Moving on, another reason that managers should pay attention to demographic trends is because it shapes consumer markets and demand. Observing demographics also proves to be useful when analyzing the needs of a consumer, as different demographic groups demand different types of products and services. For example, a target market of baby boomers will have a higher demand for goods and services related to their well-being, such as healthcare products as well as comprehensive medical insurance due to their higher risk of illnesses. By being aware of the specific needs of each demographic, managers can make better decisions regarding marketing strategies as well as product development, resulting in a higher level of consumer satisfaction and sales. Lastly, demographics also affect organizational policies. Organizations consisting of diverse demographic groups require internal policies which reflect their different values, backgrounds, and work expectations. Managers must recognize factors such as age, family structure, and career stage affect what employees need from their workplace. So, as a result, organizations often implement policies such as anti-discrimination and also flexible work options, which help employees feel respected, leading to higher rates of retention and performance, as disregarding the demographic needs could also lead to things such as high turnover or legal issues. That's all from me.
Hello everyone, my name is Lorenz Bernidit, matrix code 2311297. For now, I'm going to explain the next question, which is whether managers experience environmental stability in their business operations. In this context, provide local examples of environmental stability and environmental uncertainty. So there's two questions to be answered. To answer the first questions on whether managers experience environmental stability in their business operations, it depends on the market of the company, but in most cases, it's usually a no. Why you may ask? Because managers are always in pursuit for innovations and competition, and installing in their business operation will cause the competitor to have an upper hand. And also, there's always a constant adaptation to dynamic of external environment. I will show you the next slide on what is external environment. Now, there are six components of external environments. First one is political and legal component. Second is economic. Third is socio-cultural. Fourth is technological. Fifth is global component. And sixth, and the last one is demographic. Now, I'm going to answer the second question, which is providing local examples of environmental stability and environmental uncertainty. Let's take it to relevant external environment, where such as global component. Now, most famous cases is COVID-19, of course, which affected businesses included tourism, hospitality, and F&B businesses. Now, how do managers deal with such scenarios? Well, for one, they prioritize health and safety of the employee as they are the backbone of many companies in general. So they mandate PPE such as social distancing and wearing masks to work. But it is no surprise that there have been a huge impact of COVID to our country, especially the F&B businesses, where it tanked almost RM 11.7 billion ringgit during quarter one of 2020. So, with such severe cases, managers had to lay off many employees. Now, I'm going to talk about the second relevant external environment, which is political and legal component. My topic mainly gonna revolve around fuel subsidies and gases. So the major oil and gas company, which is Shell and Petronas. Now, for context, Malaysia has the cheapest oil in Southeast Asia, and during the PMX administration, there has been a new initiative to cut fuel prices to one ringgit and 99 cents per liter. Now, public sees this as a benefit. Of course, it's free fuel, but not free, just cheaper. But business owner sees this as incurred loss. So what do managers do in this scenario? Well, managers are constantly adjusting production and investment strategies depending on unpredictable global market. Now, to end it off, we can talk about environmental stability. As mentioned in my second slide of my presentation, I did mention that managers do feel stable in their businesses based on what markets they're in. So I'm going to talk about that market, which is telecommunication industry. So such companies include Maxis and Digi, Red One, and such as Internet. The reason why they're stable is due to the fact that they are in a monopolistic industry. So why they're stable? Because there's very little competition to fight for innovation as it is a monopolistic industry. So it is very hard to enter the industry. So how can managers improve in their companies? Well, they can invest in research and development to edge out in innovation and make a niche so that people can benefit by.
Hi everyone, today I'll be presenting the case application titled Bad Right Puppy Right about Uber workplace culture and leadership issues. The story began in 2017 when engineering Susan Flower published a blog post describing serious harassment and unethical behavior inside Uber. Her post made the company toxic culture public. Uber's original idea came from a simple problem that the founder faced in Paris. They could not get a cab. That experience inspired the concept of pressing a button to get a ride. After launching, Uber grew extremely quickly. It expanded into hundreds of cities and became one of the most valuable startups in the world. Travis Kalanick, Uber founder and CEO, built the company around very aggressive cultural value. He emphasized hyper-growth, confrontation, and a win at all cost mindset. This led to a workplace where macho and competitive behavior was rewarded. Many employees, especially women, felt uncomfortable or mistreated. Several standards made the situation worse. One example was a viral video showing Kalanick angrily arguing with an Uber driver, which hurts the company public image. Next, other executives also act unethically. They misuse private data, spy on competitors, and even access the medical records of a rape victim in India. Uber often ignores safety rules, labor laws, and taxi regulation in many countries. This caused legal trouble and damaged its reputations. Eventually, major investors lost trust in Kalanick's leadership due to the repeat scandals and cultural problems. He was forced to step down as CEO. After that, Uber hired Dara Khosrowshahi as the new CEO. His goal was to rebuild the company culture, restore trust, and fix the problem created under the previous leadership. That's all the summary. For question 411, I will start with the role of CEO in shaping an organization's culture. The CEO set the overall tone and value of the company. Their action, decisions, and leadership style strongly influence how employees behave. They also shape what is rewarded and what is tolerant inside the organization. In Uber case, Travis Kalanick's aggressive and confrontational leadership create a similar internal culture throughout the company. Next, the role of leader and managers. Managers reinforce the CEO culture through their daily interaction with employees. They translate top-level cultural value into everyday behavior and workplace practice. At Uber, many managers follow Kang Ning's example, which allowed the toxic behavior to spread even further. So, what role should the CEO and manager play? They should act as ethical, respectful, and professional role models. They should create an inclusive environment where misconduct and disrespect are not tolerant. Leaders should also hold employees accountable and support positive cultural values. Finally, they should promote teamwork, integrity, and long term success instead of a win at all costs mindset. For question 412, I'll be explaining the key dimensions of organizational culture from Exhibit 4.4. These dimensions describe what a company value and how people behave within it. So for the first one, innovative, encourage creativity and new idea. Second, stable, focus on consistency and long-term planning. Thirdly, team-oriented, emphasize collaboration and support. Next, aggressive, reflects competitiveness and intensity. Detail-oriented, value accuracy and careful procedures. Next, outcome-oriented, focus on result and performance. Last but not least, people-oriented, prioritize fairness, respect, and employee well-being. So together, these dimensions help us understand an organization overall culture. Applying this dimension to Uber under its founder, we can make a summary as the culture was highly competitive and aggressive with pressure to win at all costs. It showed low concern for people with issues like harassment and disrespect often overlooked. The environment was unstable with fast, reactive decisions. Uber was also high risk taking, often pushing legal and ethical boundaries. And finally, there was low teamwork with employees feeling isolated.
So now I will be talking about question 413. Which view of management do you see applied here? The omnipotent or the symbolic? Explain. So for me, I believe it's the omnipotent view of management. This because under the omnipotent view, the CEO is seen as the primary force behind organization's success or failure, which is in this case for Uber. So for three reasons. Number one is Kalanik's personal values shaped Uber's culture. This because Uber's internal, aggressive, confrontational, competitive, and often unethical mirrored Travis Kalanick's leadership style. There was no emphasis on collaboration or ethical conduct, which reflects on his own priorities. And next, the organization followed the CEO's behaviors, not formal policies. This is because even though Uber had multiple HR policies, Kalanick's tone as a CEO at the top overpowered them, which managers escalated his behavior by overlooking harassment, rewarding aggression, and even ignoring complaints. And lastly, Uber scandals were directly tied to leadership decisions. This because the company's unethical practices were not accidental. They were decisions made or tolerated at the top, such as by the CEO or the chairman. And they were doing in such cases such as using software to evade law enforcement and also mishandling harassment cases. So next question, 414. What advice about organizational culture would you give the new CEO? So for me, I will give three advices. Firstly, which is strengthen ethical standards and zero tolerance policies. Now this because based on the current situation, Uber needs clear enforceable rules that prohibit harassment and discrimination that can ensure fairness in investigations and allow employees to report misconduct safely and punish unethical behavior constantly, regardless of rank. And next, lead by example, tone at the top. This because employees will only believe the culture has changed if they see the CEO modeling ethical behavior. Koshiro Shashi must demonstrate humility, transparency in decision making, and openness to criticism. And lastly, the new CEO should redefine core values, such as emphasize on integrity, respect, teamwork, and accountability, such as taking responsibility for any wrongdoings or any bad reviews that's happened to the company. Now, for question 415, from an ethics perspective, what part of this situation disturbs you the most? What career advice as a future ethical behaviorist could you take away from this story? Well, listening to this Uber story, for me, I would like to list out three most disturbing aspects. Firstly is the disregard for sexual harassment complaints. Secondly is the violation of privacy, such as accessing the rape victim's medical records and corporate culture that rewarded unethical and aggressive behavior. Now, for me, if I were as a future ethical behaviorist, my advice would be to always uphold integrity even in competitive environments. Secondly, is to always speak up against unethical conduct, no matter whether the person that you're speaking up against is way more powerful than you or whatnot. And lastly, as a CEO, you should always promote fairness, respect, and accountability in all professional settings, which means taking responsibility for any wrongdoing that has been done, regardless whether it is done uh, directly whether it is harm or not harm. But even though it is a wrongdoing, it must be taken responsibly.
Hi everyone, and my lecturer. My name is Li Wei. I will be present and answering the case study 2 with my partner Melvin. First of all, we have truly go through the background story and the situation for a tableau company, and we will analyze a crucial business challenge experienced by all successful international ventures. It is keeping organizations united when they grow quickly across multiple countries. For this topic, our attention will be centered on Tableau Essential Leadership, lesson based on their rapidly growing presence across international markets. The company's stellar global expansion demonstrates that management difficulties and cultural challenge arise invariably from geographic distance and impact team unity. So, for this topic, me and my partner have go through and read through this situation, and we do a 10 simple summary point for the Tableau company. So, let's take a look. For the first point is Tableau has grown internationally since in year 2004, and Tableau company is serving 35,000 plus 35,000 plus clients in over a dozen countries. This point is showing that the Tableau company is grown quickly in all around the world and has many users in many countries. And for the second point is the Tableau company is provide a software tools and interactive dashboard for data analysis and visualization. The software tools and the interactive for provided by the Tableau company, it is the main product for Tableau company to help people or another country or another company to analyze the data and create the charts. And for the third point is decide the top competition from software giant companies such as Apple or Microsoft company. The Tableau company also can maintain the market share and continue to grow in this industry. This is showing that the Tableau company decide for the strong competition in this industry. The Tableau company is still very successful company in this industry. Another hand, a significant portion of W growth is attributed to its international expansion, with 64% increase in revenue and 86% of which came from global market. It is showing that the overseas market is contribute very significant for the revenue for the Tableau company. And for the 5 point, is Tableau employ around 2,800 people with 14,000 international office located in cities such as Shanghai, Singapore, Sydney, and London. It's showing that the Tableau company is more developed from the local company to the global company with many international office. They're trying to link with the globalization. For the for the sixth point, the Tableau company is facing challenges in managing cultural difference, time zones, and geographic distance. This is showing that the Tableau company is very seriously to facing the working with global team lead to communication and coordination challenge.
Hello everyone, my name is Melvin Wong Zi Yee and I will continue the summary of the second case study. For the 7 point, CEO Christian Chabot spent nearly a year working in London office to better understand international operations and challenges. This means that Chabot's decision to spend a year in the London office demonstrates his belief that effective global leadership requires first-hand understanding of the challenges faced by international teams. For the 8 points, his time abroad provided valuable insights into regional sales and improved management. These insights he gained abroad showing that real engagement with regional officers lead to stronger leaderships, better decision making, and more informed global strategies. For the 9 point, he found many international employees felt disconnected and not taken seriously by headquarters. This highlighted the importance of leadership
presence, and active engagement across global locations. For the last point, Shabo's experience emphasized that his belief that spending time in international offices strengthens company culture, teamwork, and success. As a result, Tableau encourages other executives to do the same, recognizing the physical presence builds trust, reduces disconnect, and supports long-term success. Now I will pass back to my partner Tan Li Wei to present about the first and second discussion session, and I will present about the third and fourth discussion session for this case study.
Okay, everyone. So after the discussion, let's begin with the question. So the question 416 is talk about W staff in international office, primarily with host country national. What are the advantage and disadvantage of this staffing strategy? For this question, we have talked about the host country national. Actually, what's the meaning of host country national? The term host country national is referred to an individual who is a citizen of the country where a foreign company subsidiary branch or international office. In the case of W case, the W home country is the United States, which is the Seattle, and the host country is located at the international office like Shanghai, China, Singapore, the United Kingdom for the London, and the host country national is actually meaning a person, like the example, a person with British citizenship working at the W London office or a person with Singaporean citizenship working at the W Singapore office. And for this question is we need to talk about what is the benefit or the not good about this strategy. So let's talk about it. So let's start with the first advantage, which is superior market and cultural understanding. Actually, if we're hiring the host country national staff, it actually can let our business operation become more smoothly and efficiently is because host country national naturally understand local social cultural norms, allowing company to design relevant marketing and sales strategy. For example, Tableau sales team in Tokyo understand Japanese business etiquette and seniority rules. It actually can helping company build trust with client. The second point is cost efficiency and workforce stability. Hiring host country national avoid the high cost of expedited package and reduce turnover. For example, W save on relocation expense and avoid description costs when expertise rotate every few years. And the third advantage is legal compliance and local expertise. Host country nationals are familiar with local political legal system. This actually can ensure the company follow complex regulation. For example, and host country national HR manager in France ensure the W complies with strict French labor law. This actually can preventing the company having the costly penalties. But as saying goes, everything have two sides. Let's talk about the disadvantage for hiring host country national staff. The first point is dilution of strong corporate culture. Host country nationals have less daily exposure to headquarters, which can weaken the transmission of company value. For example, WHQ encourage innovation and risk-taking, but a local culture that prefers stability may resist new technology or aggressive strategies. The second disadvantage is conflict and alienation between HQ and subsidiaries. Host country nationals may feel isolated or overlooked by headquarters, harming teamwork and global unity. For example, London employees may feel Seattle HQ ignores their market needs, reducing moral and feeling of loyalty. And the last disadvantage is challenge in corporate reporting. Cultural difference can lead to inconsistent reporting, standard or data quality. For example, HQ expect consist KPI-focused report, but maybe a local team may submit a long narrative report. This actually will slowing the global review process. So let's move to the next question. The question 417 is talk about do you agree with chatbot that the company will benefit if more executives spend time in international office? Why or why not? So in my opinion, I think yes, I strongly agree that if the company will be benefit if more executives spend time in the international office. I strongly agree of this statement. This is because the benefit of executive presence are crucial for managing a growing geographically and depressed company. So I have 3 points to talk about it. The first one is um, does executives spend time in the international office actually can reinforcing people and team orientation. Second one is gaining crucial strategic and environment insight. And third one is ensuring management consistency and effectiveness. So for the more details, let's move on to the next slide. Here I have 3 points to support my agreement. So the first point is reinforcing people and team orientation. The case noted the remote worker feel disconnected and undervalued in the company. An executive long-term presence is the ultimate expression of people orientation and commitment. And I think it's foster a junior team orientation by showing the international staff that they are vital member of the global team. Executive physically stationed in the company serve as living representative of the strong culture at Tableau. This is the this is what's showing in the context, and the situation is the personal encounter creates superior route for passing detailed value unlike traditional written documentation. This is the situation show it. So the executive function as a cultural foundation, I think is absolutely can creating share value which replace traditional rules when executives make decisions on the local level to achieve the better environment and decision making. For example, a COO spending 6 months in Sydney office can absolutely personally listen to staff concern, resolve local operational friction, and make them feel that their contributions are seen and respected. And even though can boosting global team chemistry, or the spirit. And the second point is global crucial strategic and environment insight. The executive personally experience the local social cultural component is absolutely including the customer behavior, competitive practice, and employee expectation, which are often subtle but critical for strategy formulation. For example, while in London, chatbot will have encountered a specific urban data privacy concern, like a part of the political legal component and local competitive threat that may differ from those in the US. This first-hand insight allow him to tailor Tableau global strategy to better support the unique need for the European market. And for the third point is ensuring management and consistency and effectiveness. Executive prevent the intergroup conflict and friction point between the local host country national staff and headquarters from escalating through mediation and resolution. Um, for instance, if the local sales team, host country national staff, feels their input on product features is ignored by the R&D team at HQ, the visiting executive can absolutely or helping in facilitate a direct high-level conversation to resolve the issue, and also can demonstrating their people orientation commitment to all employees. This actually is fair to all staff and also will boost the spirit in their heart.
Okay, for the question 418 in the second case application, as Tableau executives get ready to spend time in the company's international offices, how can they prepare for the cultural differences they will encounter? First, Tableau executives need to focus on understanding the importance of cultural and people management. They must recognize that each country has unique workplace values and behaviors. They should learn how employees in different regions view leadership and teamwork. They also need to be ready to adjust management style to fit local norms. Second, executives must prepare for communication challenges. Time zone differences may slow decision making or response times. Some cultures communicate directly, while others rely more on relationship based communication. Executives should anticipate these variations so that they can communicate clearly and respond respectfully with employees abroad. Next, they also need to understand the existing concerns from international staff. The case mentioned that many overseas employees felt they were not being taken seriously by the Seattle headquarters. Executives should understand the reason behind this perception before visiting. They must prepare to showing empathy and willingness to act on feedback. This will help to rebuild trust in their locations. Another key preparation step is studying local work norms and expectations. Different regions have different attitude toward hierarchy, authority, and collaboration. Executives should understand the typical working hours, meeting styles, and how employees address conflict. They also need to identify any cultural do's and don'ts to avoid misunderstandings. Finally, executives should adopt a learner's and observer's mindset. Kristen Chabot's experience in London show how valuable it is to listen, observe, and understand how employees work day to day. Executives should be open to listening more than speaking when first arriving, and observe how employees interact and how teams operate locally. They should use time abroad to gather insight, build trust, and understand day-to-day challenges. The next question is 419, which is what are some of the challenges Tableau will face as it hires 1,000 new employees in 1 year? The first challenge is Tableau will need to maintain a consistent company culture across global offices. When many new employees join across multiple countries, the company's culture may become diluted or inconsistent. Tableau must ensure that all employees, regardless of location, feel connected to the company's values and goals. Second, integrating employees across widely dispersed locations will be a major challenge. Onboarding programs must be effective across more than 14 global offices. With different time zones and work environments, it becomes harder to deliver consistent training and ensure everyone feels included. Third, the company will face strong competition for talent. Tableau works in an industry dominated by big players like Microsoft. Recruiting 1,000 qualified employees in 1 year puts pressure on the company to attract and retain top talent in a highly competitive market. Fourth, there is a risk of productivity dropping during rapid expansion. New hires require time, guidance, and training. If hiring happens too quickly, managers may become overwhelmed and workflows may become inconsistent. It will affect overall performance. Lastly, human resource and training teams will experience significant strain. Recruiting, onboarding, and supporting so many employees requires strong human resource capacity. Systems, processes, and training materials must be scalable and able to handle global growth efficiently.